All right, it is Tuesday on Daily Delivery. We've missed about 10 days. 6 shows, took all of last week off, and obviously the 4th of July holiday. Patrick Reusse is here with me. Patrick, they said, take some time off. And I was like, okay, I do need to take some time off, burn some PTO, could use a little vacation. I'm actually taking some more time later this month. But I was like, I'm trying to pick a week that I feel like will be kind of slow. I'm like, okay, we're post NBA draft. We're leading up to the NHL draft. It should be kind of a quiet week. And then it's like the busiest news week of all last week. The Rudy Gobert trade, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, to the Wolves. We've got, the Big Ten adding USC and UCLA, which is amazing. Kevin Fiala trades like a footnote at this point. Twins, Emilio Pagan blew like 18 games last week, and still they're somehow 3.5 games up in the division again. I don't know. Imagine if they had more of a reliable bullpen, but we're going to catch up on all those things, Patrick. How you doing today?
I am doing just fine. Our Twins are amazing because even when they win one of the best games of the year, they get a triple play on a ball that Buxton ends up catching up against the wall. It was being advertised as a great catch. I thought he was going to catch it, and he did. And then some of the greatest clown base running of all time. We got White Sox running all over the field. Ends up being the traditional 8-5 triple play, and first one ever in baseball history. And so that comes through. But even then, we still get driven crazy by the fact Rocco hooks Dylan Bundy after 5 innings, 58 pitches, 1 run allowed. And then we know that 2 days from now, he's going to be complaining about his bullpen being worn out. So we can get mad in advance because we know what's coming. But and then they bring in Duran for the 10th inning after they put up a 4-spot at the top of the 10th inning. Start with the guy at second, and they had a big inning and score 4 runs. They get Duran out. Here comes Duran. Okay. He throws 3 100, 100, 100, and 101 to the first hitter. 3 pitches. You're out. Next hitter comes up. They throw him 4 straight breaking balls. And they throw him 4 straight breaking balls. A.J. Pollock gets a hit. And then, then they ended up getting the tying run. The tying run was at the plate. And then he struck out Tim Anderson with a bunch of breaking balls. But it drives me nuts. You keep throwing I don't care what the scouting report is on A.J. Pollock. You keep throwing 100 until somebody hits it, right?
Right.
You don't start messing around with breaking balls, but they got their own theories, man. And Bundy's was, obviously, I didn't see a quote from Rocco on this, but because there was so much happening in the game, I'm sure they didn't get to it. But I'm sure it is. His numbers are terrible 3rd time through the order. So you pull him after 58 pitches and twice through the order, and then you end up having to use Griffin Jacks for 2 innings, and the first inning's good, and the second inning's terrible. And then, Griffin Jacks, the only reason they didn't lose the game is because of the triple play and the stupid base running.
Right.
So anyway, it's even when they win, and it's one of the best games of the year, and Kirilloff gets a big hit and some really good stuff at the plate, and Arise gets 3 more hits. And even when they win, you're left to complain because of the way they use their pitching. Well, it just drives me nuts. So,
and I got like 3 emails while I was off, all of them about, when are you guys going to rip Baldelli? When are the strip writers going to get on Rocco Baldelli? We've talked about this before. He's so polarizing because it's almost like this paradox where people are driven crazy by him and they're winning. They're leading. They're
Yes.
leading the division again. They've won 2 division titles in his 3 seasons. And Bundy, by the way, I thought he was cooked, and these last 4 starts have actually been pretty good. He's only given up now 5 earned runs in his last 24 innings over 4 starts. And he can go deeper. What he threw that game against Arizona where he had 107 pitches.
Yeah, I was watching, I'm an elderly man here with a little bit of extra weight on me. And when Rocco let him go out for the 8th inning, I almost had a heart attack because that was so unlike them. And yet yesterday, it's obviously they go into that game. They think it's a big game, and their strategy with the dynamic new pitching coach, Pete Mackey, is to pull him out, not let him face the White Sox for the 3rd time. And that's what they did. But the idea that Rocco doesn't get any heat is another stupid thing. I'd say for a guy that's success, he's got a lot of heat.
Oh yeah,
and not just from fans. I mean, we get on him about his pitching changes and stuff like that. And guess what? This is all. They have an hour meeting before every game with about 12 different people deciding what they're going to do with their pitching that night. So it's not the old days of just Gardy going out and deciding he wants to hook a pitcher. It's a new strategy. The only thing that bothers me is, okay, when you do this, then don't whine on Wednesday that you're out of relief pitchers. That's my theory. You did this to yourself, so shut up and don't complain. And then, we saw another example of the stupidity. This Mania comes over from St. Paul. He throws the ball better than he's throwing it. He's got 3 1/3 scoreless while he's here. They got to release him to make room for Trevor McGill. Why? Why?
I don't know.
He pitched 3 1/3 innings. He pitched 27 pitches, threw 27 pitches Sunday. So they gotta really put him. They gotta designate him for assignment. Well, don't use him. You got 8 other guys. You got 7 other guys. You don't, and he'll be ready to pitch Tuesday. You don't have to shut him down for days after days because he threw 27 pitches. He's a relief pitcher. He can throw again Tuesday. Why do you have to designate him for assignment? Because he threw 27 pitches yesterday. So that's why, even when they're winning, they drive us nuts. Okay, so I guess it's an adjustment to. It's not reality for everybody else, though. It's reality here. It's not everybody is treating their pitchers like this. Tampa Bay does. That's about it. So, anyway.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake for 24/7 gaming, fun restaurants and bars, and luxurious hotel rooms. And join Club M to bask in the rewards. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
I forgot to mention at the jump the Wes Johnson story too. I mean that happened last week too, just right in the middle of the season.
Right?
Your pitching coach goes.
And they were not happy. They
I bet.
They did all this blah blah blah, but they, Rocco did say, he says your immediate reaction was, well, why do you have to leave? Why can't you stay till the end of the season?
Right.
And all Wes Johnson would apparently tell him was, I can't. And I heard from pretty good source that he wanted more security. And but LSU, when they put this big package on the table, wanted him to be there because I wrote something about this. The transfer portal is so huge in college baseball right now.
Sure.
And these guys are signing up, right? This is when they're getting their commitment. They just the day after he it became public that he was going. He was still here. They got some hotshot who was transferring from Vanderbilt. And so John Anderson told me that Vanderbilt basically told all their freshmen and sophomores to go into the transfer portal because they're going to go get all 22-year-olds who have played someplace to try to get back on top where they were. They won 2 national titles and try to. So that's the world that is being created in college baseball. Because I think one thing we don't remember is that, we know that you didn't have free transfers in basketball and football, but the other sport where you didn't have free transfers was baseball. So that, and there's like 2,000 baseball players in the transfer portal.
Wow.
So anyway, but I think deep in their hearts, they are very irritated, despite all the plaudits they aimed at. They are very upset because it just doesn't make any sense that you can't get on Zoom calls on Wednesday morning and talk to the transfers for an hour and then do your duty till October. Because what are you going to miss? What are you going to miss
right
at LSU? I think it's something else. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a family issue. Maybe it's, he's got teenage daughters. Maybe the wife said, "Hey, get down here. These 2 girls are driving me crazy," or something. Who knows? I don't have any idea. It's not a family health situation. I know that. But whatever he did, he will not be remembered kindly, I don't think, in the organization for pulling this on him.
Oh yeah, I mean, their first place team. I mean, that's just right in the middle of basically halfway through a season, pennant race going on, pitching staff, better this year than it was last year. I mean, if this happens in the middle of last season, I'm sure they're upset, but they're not as upset because they're not in a position where they're trying to be ultra competitive at that point. I mean, they're hoping they can turn the season around if it's a year ago, but yeah, just a strange thing. But I think that the thing that was most eye-opening about it, and you wrote a lot about it, and we've seen it we've seen it written kind of more widespread now, is just the money disparity that exists, in terms of what he can make in the college game with, incentives, booster stuff is probably about twice what he was making with the Twins, right?
Yeah, he's making $400 with the Twins, I guess, with everything. And when his salary down there is $380, but then there's also a bunch of incentives, but then there's also the donors fund where they got this whole fund that the AD can distribute, and camps. They make $100,000 on camps down there, and by the time he's done, 700 is the low end. I think it's 700. So people are saying, why aren't baseball coaches paid more? Well, he's making 400. That's plenty for a coach, but
yes,
it's not. It's the going rate. There's some that have been paid more than that, but it's not like it's not like this is the Twins were lowballing a guy here. There is no way they're going to pay one of their pitching coaches $700,000 with his track record. His track record is not fantastic. All right, this whole development that we have created this pitching department, right? And Wes was very big in this. Well, okay, where the hell are the results, right?
Yeah.
Isn't a pitching department intended to create young pitchers who arrive by age 24, 25 and do good things for you, not a bunch of 30-year-olds in your bullpen who you put on the disabled, you designate for assignment every time they pitch a scoreless game because they threw too many pitches. A bunch of rejects who travel around from one team to another. Your bullpen should not be built on basically journeyman. If you've developed this pitching department that is supposed to be creating young arms, and really Winder's the only one that showed up, and he's been on the DL, and it's I'd say Wes's work here was pretty average. A little above average, but not. It's not like he's this. He's a genius of biomechanics and stuff like that. But the results have not been that great.
I mean, the best young one they got was the guy they had to trade for, Joe Ryan. I mean, that's looking like a very good. It looks like a very good trade at this point because it looks like he's got a shot to be, in the middle to top part of the rotation for a lot of years at a reasonable cost. But that's the one that stands out as the guy that they've quote unquote developed, and he came here pretty much developed, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's what Duran they got in a trade, but they developed him, and that they developed him as much as you can develop a guy who throws 100.
Right. It's like developing Byron Buxton. Like go run.
Right. Yeah, we taught him how to run. Yeah. Anyway, but hey, that was a hell of a ball game last night. A lot of crazy stuff coming. Joe Kelly who drilled or had the big run in with Correa and the Astros.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Years ago, and he hit Bregman, and then he taunted Correa, and
right.
He walked Correa last night. He was terrible. He walked everybody, and he gave up the 4-run inning. And LaRussa got thrown out of the game just because he didn't want to watch Joe Kelly anymore. I think because of the pitches he was complaining about weren't strikes. But anyway, it was a hell of a win, and the White Sox were just coming off a really good road trip, including getting 13 runs against the Giants on Sunday. So it was a very entertaining game with the usual twists and turns because of the fact that they hooked Bundy after 5 innings.
Well, you mentioned Wes Johnson's salary, Patrick. The Timberwolves now have it's not all of theirs, but about $400 million worth of contracts devoted to Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. They will end possessions. Tim Connolly, I still remember his introductory news conference when he got hired, said one of the most important things is rebounding, ending possessions. They will end possessions now that they have 2 7-footers who presumably will play together quite a bit. Towns now at power forward, Gobert at center. They'll figure out how that all works, but that blockbuster trade, of course, happening last week. The sum total was Jared Vanderbilt, Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, the draft pick they just drafted, 4 first-round picks, a pick swap. I mean, everything but the kitchen sink. This is, Patrick, I was just thinking about it. This is going to be the kind of trade where we judge and rejudge it like 7 different times. Like Gobert will have a great game where we're like, the Wolves killed him in this trade. And then Vanderbilt will have a game with 17 rebounds, or Beasley will make 8 threes in some game. And be like, how could they ever do this? It's going to be that way for the next 4 or 5 years. And it's going to be hard. I'm going to think I might write about this today. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to judge how. I think it'd be easier to judge if they lost this trade more than if they won this trade. I don't know what qualifies as winning this trade, but man, I like it. I like the big swing. It's a lot to give up, but if you're the Wolves, what else are you going to do? I mean, you're not going to get a player of that caliber in free agency, so you got to make swings like this.
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot. I think that one thing I read that's pretty good, I saw an observation on this. One of the big reasons for making this trade was to keep Karl Anthony Towns from committing 3 fouls in the first period.
Yeah.
And getting himself in all this foul trouble because, every time he tries to block a shot early on, he gets called for a foul, and then he gets mad, and then he gets a charging foul.
Right.
And then he gets mad because he does the same thing the next time down the court to prove to the official he was wrong. And then the official calls another one, and that's 3, and he's gone and sitting on the bench pouting like the baby he is. Well, now you got Rudy, and Rudy does all the hard work down there. He does the shot blocking. He does the rebounding. And I don't want Towns out there running around just shooting threes and being a pure wing. But I think that here's the deal. You can keep D'Lo and let him have people drive by him, because you got Gobert to block shots if he's down there. You got, and you got Towns that should be on the court more at crucial times because he's not in foul trouble. And, the guy, and he's a rebounder, and their biggest problem was rebounding. So,
yeah,
I mean, I like, and you know what else? Beasley and Beverly are addition by subtraction. The hell with either of them. Beverly drives me nuts.
I know.
He's a he's a idiot, and the way he, taunts people and runs around. And okay, he helped the defense and the public liked him, but he can't make a shot when it counts. And Beasley's just a dime a dozen shooter. And so and you had, in the fact that you got them to take those two guys because they had to, money wise,
Right.
They had to get rid of some of these salaries to get up to 38 million or approximately whatever Gobert is making. But it is 2 years from now, when all the dues come and all the bills come due with Karl Anthony Towns' new contract and the whole thing. I think it's like not having Suter and Parisi, isn't it? Someday you got to pay the piper, right? And a couple of years from now,
they'll probably be in the luxury tax at some point here with all the contracts they've got.
Are they going to be beyond luxury too?
Yeah.
It's but it's I think that Chris Finch probably tells Connolly, our biggest thing is we got to keep the cat on the floor, and we got to rebound, and we got to play defense around the basket. And we got some guys who aren't real great defensively. Then the other thing I heard, and everybody heard, is that they really, Utah's first reaction was, you got to give us McDaniels. And instead of giving them McDaniels, they gave him 2 more number ones. So,
yeah. Well, if D'Lo is still here next year, which, the dust has settled from a lot of the stuff in the offseason, he's still here. Lineup of D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. That's pretty good. That's an awfully good starting lineup next year if that's your starting 5. And then you're obviously trusting that some of these guys that you've developed that have played, more 10th, 11th man, guys are injured, stepping into bigger roles. Guys like, Jalen Noel, guys like, Naz Reid still, Jordan McLaughlin. You're kind of counting on those guys to be, to play bigger roles. But, frankly, like Jalen Noel playing Malik Beasley minutes, I'm okay with that.
Oh, he's better. Although they're Beasley probably a better defender, not a great one, but a better defender. But I really like Jalen Noel as an offensive player. He can get the basket and do some things. So I'm not traumatized over really anything they lost. We don't know anything about Walker Kessler, but
right.
But it's it depends upon part of the strategy too, Mike, is that all their draft choices are going to be between 21 and 30, right?
That's the hope. I mean,
if they end up having a lousy year and they give up the 6th overall pick, then all of a sudden you got an issue. So, but the draft choices, the NBA draft amazes me because there's 50 million people playing basketball in this world, right? So we get them from all over the world.
Yeah.
In the NBA draft, you make 7 picks, and then after that, people are throwing darts. It's incredible to me that it isn't the deepest, greatest draft of all time, but it's not. They just the number of difference makers individually in each draft is just not that high, and so this trade is based on winning, so the draft choices you're giving up aren't going to be that valuable. So anyway,
that's very true, and it's got to work out. I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you want to see how this plays out, but Gobert's got the 4 years left on his contract. You've got Towns secured for a long time now. Obviously, Edwards is going to get expensive here in a couple of years whenever he's going to sign his extension, and that's going to be your big 3 for the foreseeable future, I would think. I don't know what you do with, do you just let D'Lo expire at this point? I don't know. That'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Depends upon the year he has, but I don't think they can trade him, right? You would have to take, I still don't trust Connolly not to be trying to get rid of him, but
sure.
you then have to get, who are you going to take? Russell Westbrook? Hell no.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, you have to take the money back. It's not like you can get rid of D'Lo and then, I think they've decided that they're going to play him 1 year, let his contract expire because they can't afford him. If you let his contract expire, that's off the books, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's off the books. So then you can start worrying about paying Edwards, right? And McDaniel. So I think they're going to let him play and let him walk.
Yeah, they might, and that's and you'll get a motivated year out of him because he's going to want to, he'd be playing for his next contract, so it makes a certain amount of financial sense. It's just interesting to think about that piece of it.
Well, Mike, there's no way they can give him a healthy extension to go with.
No,
not that they got Gobert and Towns and Edwards is 5 times more valuable. So
not unless you want to become Golden State and pay like $400 million a year, including tax penalties and stuff like that.
Hey, our 2 guys, who are these new owners who are just these wonderful human beings, Laurie and Rodriguez. I believe they still owe Mr. Taylor $1 billion.
Yeah.
I think so. They got to come up with that $1 billion between now and 2023. So I'm not sure they want to be paying $150 million in luxury tax.
No,
too. So
not yet. They want to get. They need to get the need to get a new arena before they're going to do any of that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. Who's going to pay for that? The only hope is to have a casino next to the new arena downtown. Take this. St. Anthony, no, what's the building right next door?
Block E?
Yeah, Block E. Turn that into a casino and pay for the new arena. Let's do it. Come on.
Yeah, that's where their practice facility is. So we'll see. Interesting
you can
times.
Come over and gamble on who scores the first basket. Sit behind the glass and we can bet on who's going to score the first basket in a pickup game, or something like that.
I mean, it's not too far fetched because I think the arena in DC has a sports book in it.
That's what we got to do, man. That's the only place to, Hennepin County's not going to pay the freight. Minneapolis is not going to pay the freight, or not going to pay a lot of it. So we got to make a deal with the tribes here to have a little downtown casino that they get a cut. Everybody gets a cut, and we pay for a new arena. And let's go all in on gambling. When we look at our crawls now, and they're telling us what the odds are during the games as they change, I think we've gone all in on gambling, right? So let's join the party.
Yes. Speaking of joining the party, before we go, Patrick, you looking forward to some of those UCLA Rutgers baseball games in early April?
That's the thing. This is fine for football.
Fine for football.
What about the? I mean, that's not fine. I don't endorse it. What I'm saying,
it's weird, but it works.
It's weird, but it's doable.
Yes.
But how about the 18 other teams you have to send out there and send around the world to play these guys, and then you're going to complain about we got to send our women's not women's, men's, whatever, third rate, some team out there for a track and field meet, dual meet or some damn thing. I don't. That, what this does make it look awful stupid to have dropped men's gymnastics and men's tennis and something and indoor track. Really, you're going to be getting $100 million from Fox Television for this. Yeah, I'd like to make this point too. Everybody's congratulating Kevin Warren on his vision. He had as much to do with this as I did. This is ESPN versus Fox. This is ESPN. Okay, we get Oklahoma and Texas and 16. We go to 16, and the Fox says, "Okay, watch this," and they go get UCLA and Southern Cal for the Big Ten. Actually, that rumor, you'd heard it like a year and a half ago, and you said no.
Right.
really happened. But now, the great Chip wrote about it Sunday. It's great. The great alliance they were going to make, and they're all shaking hands with each other. These guys, NFL owners, and we complain about MLB owners and disreputable owners of pro teams. They're the bastion of honesty compared to these hypocritical college jackasses who are out there selling their souls and putting the screws to all their brethren. How would you like to be Craig Thompson running the Mountain West Conference now, and then knowing that these guys are going to take every penny available from television, and it's amazing. And this is just, I have accepted the reality of it, right? But I have no interest in it because this, your Gophers enjoy the next 2 years of the West, right? I think we're going to still have the West for 2 years. This is the Gophers' one chance to gain any prominence, because once it's a 16-team league with no divisions, you're going to say, yay, we finished sixth. Wasn't it great? We were sixth in a 16-team league. And now we get to go to, how about these third-rate bowl games now, or fourth bowl games, when you now have a conference with, UCLA and USC and perhaps Oregon and Washington. I think Chip's right. I think we're going to end up with 2 20-team leagues. You know damn well that the SEC is going to raid the ACC pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
Clemson and Miami, and they'll get Clemson, Miami, and Phil Knight at Oregon's not going to settle for this. Oregon's going to end up someplace, right? They're not going to be an orphan out there. So anyway,
Oregon seems like they would be a good SEC team, but geographically, does it not matter anymore? Because
doesn't matter. Apparently, it doesn't matter. If we can go put Rutgers and Maryland in with.
That's about as far away as you can get.
UCLA and
that's like a 6 hour. Isn't that like a 6 hour flight?
Mm-hmm. We've come a long way since the Gophers used to get on the train and go out and play Washington once in a while, and they'd go through Montana. They'd be gone for about a week.
Right.
Back in the day.
Right.
Back in the day, they'd take the train and all get drunk and have a good old party. And not the players, but the porters that went with them. And it's unbelievable. And it reveals, though, as I said, the true spirit of the next time somebody criticizes you for ripping college athletes, big time college athletes, tell them to take a long walk off a short pier. There's no more purity here than there is in the pros.
This is not about the student athlete, as they like to say. Not about the student athlete. Although I'm sure some Big Ten, current Big Ten members, Minnesota athletes, will not mind going out to UCLA and USC to play some games, especially in the.
But how often are you going to play them? The reason you're not going to have divisions is they do not want Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State in a different division than Southern Cal and UCLA.
Yeah,
because that's part of the. Ohio State will be playing one or the other of those out in LA every year, don't you think?
Let's just create the haves and the have-not divisions.
Yes, they should. If somebody said this, and it's not a bad idea to have relegation. Have two 8-team leagues, and then the 1 and 2 from the lessers moves up, and the bottom 2 move down the next year. Just do it every year.
It actually would work in college sports. It would work better than it does in a lot of other sports, because it's you don't have to change stadiums. It still means something,
and you don't pay. The reason the model doesn't work in the United States in soccer is they're paying these franchises, right? They're these aren't cities that had, have had soccer teams since 1925,
Right.
built up and stuff like that. And I know they've changed owners and exchanged big dollars to purchase the franchises stuff, but the basis of the franchises where they started up out of these cities, right?
Yeah.
Well, here you're paying, you don't want to pay a $200 million franchise fee to the MLS and then get demoted because by somebody else who paid 20 million or something. I mean, 200 million to get a franchise. So it doesn't work here because of what we charge people to have franchises, but it would work in college athletics. It would be great.
That would be great. Well, we'll see how that all sorts.
It would
itself
get me
out.
more excited than going to the Independence Bowl or something to play that last game of the season and decide whether you're going to get relegated.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do something. Let's never again, Mike, think you're taking a week off and nothing's going to happen.
Oh, I know.
Doesn't work in sports anymore.
I know. I'm trying to take the week off of the B All-Star game here later this week or later this month too. And I'm sure there'll be 18 other things that happen that week. But hey, you know what? You got to take.
All we got going at the end of this week, end of this month, is the opening of training camp. The boy, our fellas going into the Hall of Fame. Everything else that's going on. It is incredible. Say, I'm trying to work on a column on this for tomorrow.
Okay.
You know that Jack Gordon died like 2 weeks ago?
No.
The guy who succeeded Ren Blair.
Yeah.
He lived in town here. He lived in town, and boy, they're so busy in sports that the guy who was a very prominent figure in North Star's history, hockey here, passed away a couple of weeks ago, and we had about a 15-line paid obit in the paper, and that's he was a quiet guy. And so anyway, I'm trying to get a hold of a couple of people and what Jack was doing in last year's his life. Married to his bride for 72 years.
Wow, jeez, that is unbelievable.
She must have been a saint. So, anyway, she's still alive. So
wow.
Anyway, all righty.
All right, sir. Appreciate it. We'll be back at it next week.
Okay, Mike. See you.